It's summer in Paris, August 24th, 1572. The bells of Saint-Germain-l'Auxerrois tolled just after midnight. At first it may have sounded like a call to prayer. Instead, it was the signal for slaughter. Within minutes, the streets of Paris erupted in violence. Doors were broken down, bodies fell from windows. The Seine ran red. By the time the sun rose, thousands of Protestants, men, women, even children, lay butchered across the capital. And this was only the beginning. This was the St. Bartholomew's Day Massacre, one of the most infamous incidents in the history of early modern Europe. It was not just a massacre, it was a turning point. And at the center of the storm stood one of the most maligned and enigmatic figures of Renaissance politics, Catherine de' Medici, Queen Mother of France. But was she the architect of this bloodbath, or a desperate woman caught in the crosshairs of dynastic collapse, religious war, and royal paranoia? By 1572, France was a kingdom teetering on the brink. The wars of religion, intermittent, bloody conflicts between Catholics and Protestants, known in France as Huguenots, had been raging for over a decade. The Valois monarchy, fragile and fracturing, was led by Charles IX, a 22-year-old king emotionally and politically dominated by his mother, Catherine de' Medici. Catherine, ever the pragmatist, had spent her regency years trying to balance the powerful Catholic Guise faction with the growing Huguenot nobility. She wasn't motivated by religious zeal, but by one consistent aim: protect the Valois crown at all costs. So when it came time to secure peace, Catherine orchestrated a daring and controversial alliance, a royal marriage between her daughter, Margaret of Valois, and the Huguenot leader Henry of Navarre, later Henry IV of France. A Catholic princess marrying a Protestant prince was nothing short of revolutionary. But it came with risk. The Pope condemned it. Catholic hardliners hissed. Paris, a deeply Catholic city, seethed. Yet on August 18, 1572, the wedding went ahead. Thousands of Huguenots travelled to Paris to attend. The city was thick with tension, but there was hope. Perhaps peace would finally come. Then someone fired a shot. Just 4 days after the wedding, Admiral Gaspard de Coligny, a leading Huguenot general and close advisor to King Charles, was shot in the street. He survived, barely. The assassin escaped. Fingers pointed to the ultra-Catholic Guise family. Huguenot nobles were enraged. Charles IX visited Coligny, promising justice. But Catherine saw something terrifying in that scene, her son beginning to side with the Protestants. To Catherine, this wasn't just about religion. It was about control. Coligny had the king's ear. If the Protestants took over the court, the entire Valois line might fall. She had spent her life navigating the poisoned waters of French politics. She wasn't about to drown now. So she made a fateful decision. On the night of August 23rd and into the 24th, Catherine and her advisers met with King Charles. Pressured and panicked, the young king agreed to eliminate the Protestant leadership. "Strike first," he is said to have declared, "so that not one is left to reproach me." At dawn, a royal guard stormed Coligny's lodging. He was stabbed, thrown from a window, and mutilated by a mob. His severed head was paraded through the streets of Paris, and then the dam broke. Mobs armed with pikes, knives, and hatchets swarmed through the Huguenot quarters. Paris descended into chaos. Entire families were murdered, churches burned, women were raped, corpses floated in the river. The violence was so brutal that even the hardened Pope Gregory XIII reportedly gasped when he heard the news, though he still ordered a celebratory Te Deum sung in Rome. The violence did not end in Paris. Over the following weeks, massacres erupted in Orléans, Lyon, Bordeaux, Toulouse, and Rouen. Estimates vary, but between 5,000 to 30,000 Protestants may have been killed across France. Contemporaries, and many later historians, cast the blame squarely on Catherine. Pamphlets depicted her as a Machiavellian sorceress, poisoning goblets, manipulating her son, commanding assassins in the shadows. Certainly, she was involved in the decision to eliminate Coligny. She may have approved a targeted purge of Protestant leadership, but most scholars today agree she did not foresee the scale of what would unfold. Once the killing began, it could not be stopped. Centuries of religious tension exploded in a single night. The line between assassination and massacre blurred. The St. Bartholomew's Day Massacre shattered the hope of reconciliation between Catholics and Protestants in France. It deepened the wars of religion. It blackened the reputation of the Valois dynasty and of Catherine in particular. Henry of Navarre, miraculously spared by converting temporarily to Catholicism, would survive to become Henry IV, the first Bourbon king of France. Catherine would die in 1589, her health broken, her sons dead or dying, her power waning. But her image, cold, cunning, and draped in black, would live on in art, literature, and Protestant polemic for centuries. The St. Bartholomew's Day Massacre is not just a historical tragedy. It is a mirror held up to the dangers of fear-driven politics, of religious extremism, and of leaders willing to sacrifice principle for power. Was Catherine de' Medici a monster? Or was she a woman playing a losing game in a world that left her no good choices? History rarely offers easy answers, but the bells that rang that night still echo, warning us to beware the thin line between order and chaos, and the leaders who believe they can control the fire once it's lit.